Let me introduce myself before we begin this cautionary tale. I am Commander Tarvex of the 3rd Hunting Fleet, Senior Tactician of the Carnex Dominion, and until recently, a holder of 73 confirmed Apex kills across 14 solar systems. That until recently part is important. You'll understand why soon enough. The Galactic Confederation of predator species doesn't admit just anyone. You need credentials, evolutionary advantages, a proven record of being at the top of whatever food chain you evolved from. My species, the Carnex, have been members for 12,000 cycles. We earned our place through superior strength, heightened senses, and natural weaponry that would make your combat engineers weep with envy. Our Confederation encompasses 37 dominant predator species. The Orcs with their acidic secretions, the Jantari and their hypnotic abilities, the Krell, who can literally taste fear in the air and track it for parsecs. We're the nightmare fuel that lesser species tell stories about around their primitive campfires. Or so we thought. Commander, we've intercepted an unregistered vessel in Sector 9. My second in command, Lieutenant Mexer, reported 3 cycles ago. His breathing sacs pulsed with excitement. Initial scans indicate a new species. New species meant new hunting opportunities. New hunting opportunities meant prestige. Prestige meant power within the Confederation. The logic was beautifully simple. Life signs? I asked, mandibles clicking with anticipation. Bipedal, soft-bodied, no apparent natural weaponry. They appeared to be, and here Mexer paused, confusion evident in his compound eyes, singing very loudly and badly. The research team we dispatched returned with fascinating data. These creatures called themselves humans. They hailed from a planet they modestly named Earth, as if there was only one real planet in the universe. How quaint. Our xenobiologists were thoroughly unimpressed. No claws, no venom, dull teeth, pathetic speed and strength compared to even the lowliest Confederation member. Their only remarkable physical trait was their endurance, but what good is running for a long time if you're running slowly? The Confederation Council officially classified humans as a Class II prey species. This meant they were intelligent enough to provide sporting challenge but posed no significant threat to experienced hunters. We scheduled a formal first contact followed by the traditional ceremonial hunt. Oh, how wrong we were. So catastrophically, hilariously wrong. The data screens didn't show us what lurked behind those dull teeth and soft exteriors. They couldn't measure the one trait that would make even the most fearsome predators in the galaxy back away slowly, mandibles tucked between their appendages. In retrospect, the singing should have been our first clue. First contact with humans was, by Confederation standards, boringly predictable. We sent our most intimidating diplomatic vessel, a living warship grown from the bones of conquered predators, to their primitive space station. Their delegation gaped appropriately. Some shrieked. One fainted. Standard prey responses that reinforced our assessment. I, naturally, led the delegation, my ceremonial hunting garb displaying trophies from 100 successful hunts. My honor guard stood at attention, their specialized killing appendages prominently displayed. The human representative, a surprisingly composed female called Admiral Beatrice Porter, stepped forward. 5 foot 6 inches of apparently defenseless mammal. "Welcome to human space," she said through our translation matrix. "We come in peace and hope for mutual cooperation." How cute. They always hope for peace. The weak always do. I followed protocol and presented the Confederation Charter, which she accepted with appropriate reverence. What she couldn't know was that accepting the charter automatically classified humanity as potential hunting stock. It's in the fine print. We always include fine print. "We look forward to cultural exchange," I said, my mandibles forming what passes for a smile among my kind. "In fact, we would like to invite a selection of your finest warriors to participate in our most sacred tradition." 2 solar days later, we launched the first ceremonial hunt. The Council selected a mining colony on what humans called Mars. Low population, isolated, perfect for a controlled introduction to humanity's new place in the galactic order. Our hunting party consisted of 12 elite Carnex warriors, myself included. We brought minimal weaponry. Sporting hunts demand restraint, after all. The plan was simple: land quietly, hunt a few humans to establish dominance, then negotiate their species' surrender from a position of strength. We landed in what appeared to be an uninhabited sector. Strange machinery dotted the rocky landscape. Primitive mining equipment, we assumed. Lieutenant Mexer picked up life signs in a nearby structure. "Remember, take one alive for questioning," I instructed as we moved into position. "The rest are fair game." What happened next still haunts my nightmares. We breached the airlock with practiced precision. Inside, we found 6 humans gathered around a table covered with colorful pieces of paper and strange carved objects. They looked up, startled. "Holy crap, it's space lobsters," one shouted. "I told you we should have upgraded the perimeter sensors after that dust storm," another yelled. We deployed our hunting array nerve toxins designed to paralyze prey while keeping them conscious. Standard procedure. That's when a human female with facial decorations, Lisa Burton, mining engineer according to her identification patch, did something incomprehensible. She grabbed a canister from her belt, yelled "Smile for the camera, bug boys," and unleashed a storm of glittering particles into the air. Our toxins harmlessly precipitated in the strange substance. Worse, the particles clung to our exoskeletons, somehow interfering with our optical systems. "It's hairspray and glitter, you idiots," she shouted to her companions. "They breathe through their exoskeletons." Cringe, run. 4 of my warriors were immediately incapacitated, rolling on the ground trying to clear their breathing spiracles of the substance humans apparently used to style their head fur. The miners scattered, but not in blind panic as prey should. They moved with purpose, communicating through handheld devices. Within moments, alarms blared. "Sir," Mexer gasped, still struggling to breathe. "They're activating the mining equipment." Outside, the massive machines roared to life, controlled remotely by the fleeing humans. Not as weapons, these weren't military devices, but as very effective obstacles and distractions. We retreated in disarray, 3 warriors lost to what the humans later described as an unfortunate accident with the rock crusher. Not killed in glorious combat, but essentially garbage compacted by mining equipment. The ceremonial hunt, needless to say, was a catastrophic failure. 12 elite hunters sent. 9 returned, all injured or humiliated, and not a single human casualty. The Council was not pleased. The Confederation Council convened an emergency session following our humiliating retreat. I stood before the assembled representatives of the galaxy's most fearsome species, explaining how 6 untrained miners armed with cosmetics and construction equipment had defeated elite Carnex warriors. "This is unprecedented," rumbled High Counselor Drakthar of the Orcs, acid dripping from his mouthparts and sizzling on the chamber floor. Perhaps the initial classification was in error. "I propose a full xenobiological reassessment," hissed Representative Zalara of the Jantari Clutch. "There must be hidden adaptations we missed." For 3 full rotations, our best scientists dissected the data. They analyzed human tissue samples, scrutinized their primitive technology, and reviewed historical records intercepted from their communication networks. Nothing explained their effectiveness against seasoned predators. Then reports from other Confederation members started arriving. The Krell had attempted an abduction from a small water vessel they called a fishing boat. They found 3 intoxicated humans who, instead of showing appropriate terror, attempted to catch the Krell with their fishing equipment, and believing they'd discovered a record-breaking squid. 2 Krell hunters ended up tangled in fishing line and dragged behind the boat for several miles. The Jantari tried their legendary hypnotic abilities on a human research outpost. The humans, apparently unable to process the complex neurosignals correctly, experienced what they called a really bad trip, planned and responded by blasting what they called death metal music through the facility's communication system. The frequencies were so disruptive to Jantari neural patterns that the hunting party suffered seizures. "These creatures make no sense," complained Admiral Vrax during our 5th strategy session. "They lack physical advantages, yet they consistently prevail through. Sheer absurdity," I finished for him. "It's like they don't follow the rules of predator and prey." That's when Dr. Nylara, our chief synapsychologist, had her breakthrough. "That's precisely it, Commander," she said, her sensing tentacles quivering with excitement. "They don't follow the rules because they don't see themselves as prey." She displayed a holographic compilation of human entertainment media. What we witnessed was shocking. Humans, it seemed, spent considerable time imagining scenarios where they defeated superior life forms. They called these movies and video games and books. "They've mentally prepared for encounters with predator species their entire existence," Dr. Nylara explained. "They've been rehearsing for us before they even knew we existed." But this still didn't explain their most unsettling quality. "Why don't they respond with appropriate fear?" demanded Counselor Thraz. "Even intelligent prey species show predictable panic responses. Humans show something else entirely." The answer came from an unexpected source. Lieutenant Mexer had been studying human communication patterns captured during our failed hunt. "Sir, I believe I've isolated the anomaly," he reported. "When faced with certain death, humans often exhibit a response that defies evolutionary logic." He played back the audio recording from our Mars disaster. As the miners fled the hunting party, their communications weren't filled with screams or pleas. They were laughing, making jokes. One was apparently taking bets on which alien would face plant first in the Martian dust. "It appears to be some kind of stress response," Mexer continued. "But instead of enhancing their survival functions, it enhances their creativity. They become more unpredictable, not less." The implications were disturbing. Every predator species in the galaxy relied on fear responses to predict prey behavior. Without fear, or with this twisted version of it, humans became essentially unpredictable. "So what you're telling me," I said slowly, "is that when we corner them, they don't flee in terror or freeze in submission," Dr. Nylara finished. "They get weird. And then they get dangerous." The council chamber fell silent as the horrifying truth settled over us. We were dealing with something unprecedented in galactic history, prey that laughed in the face of predators. And we had no protocol for that. The Confederation dispatched research teams to secretly observe humans in their natural habitats. Their findings shattered everything we thought we knew about predator-prey dynamics. This footage was captured at a human military training facility, Dr. Nylara explained during her presentation to the High Council. The holographic display showed a human squad trapped in a simulated urban combat zone. Their commander, a squat male with facial hair called Sergeant Frank Walters, had just discovered their position was surrounded by opposing forces. Did he surrender? Did he freeze? Did he attempt a desperate escape? No. He gathered his squad and said, with disturbing cheerfulness, "Well, folks, looks like we're royally screwed. So here's what we're gonna do." What followed was a plan so illogical, so fundamentally absurd, that even now I struggle to comprehend it. They used cooking equipment from an abandoned dwelling to create improvised sound devices, deployed them to create a distraction, then escaped by hiding inside waste disposal containers that were being removed from the combat zone. Notice their facial expressions, Dr. Nylara highlighted. They're displaying teeth, emitting rhythmic vocalizations. This is their laughter response. They find their predicament amusing. The council watched in horrified silence. This isn't an isolated incident, Dr. Nylara continued. Humans consistently respond to deadly threats with this bizarre combination of humor and improvisation. She displayed multiple examples from human history. A human transport vessel called Apollo 13 suffered catastrophic system failure in the vacuum of space. The humans aboard, facing certain death, jerry-rigged life support systems using adhesive material they called duct tape and plastic containers designed to hold their waste. They survived while making what they termed wisecracks about their situation. During a planetside conflict humans called World War II, a group of human engineers found themselves trapped behind enemy lines with no conventional weapons. They constructed functioning artillery from drainage pipes and used alcoholic beverages as propellant. They named these weapons burp guns and left humorous messages on the projectiles. A small human research vessel encountered a massive aquatic predator that damaged their craft. Running low on oxygen, the three humans fashioned breathing apparatus from spare parts while continually referencing something called Finding Nemo. But most disturbing, Dr. Nylara said gravely, are their entertainment simulations. The display showed a human game where players deliberately placed themselves in danger for amusement. They called it Jackass and appeared to derive pleasure from activities that should have triggered survival instincts. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes no sense, Admiral Vrax protested. Fear exists for a reason. It promotes survival behaviors. Not for humans, Dr. Nylara replied. Their species faced such varied threats during their evolution that rigid fear responses became a liability. Instead, they developed this humor mechanism. It reduces paralyzing fear, promotes social bonding during crises, and enhances creative problem-solving. That's their secret weapon? I asked incredulously. They laugh at death? More than that, Commander Dr. Nylara said. When humans confront apex predators like us, their neural patterns shift dramatically. Their brains release compounds they call endorphins and adrenaline, and their cognitive functions actually improve under pressure. They think faster and more creatively when they should be paralyzed with terror. The implications were staggering. Every predator species in the galaxy had evolved to hunt prey with predictable fear responses. Our hunting strategies, our biological advantages, even our social structures were built around this fundamental constant. Humans violated this natural law. There's more, Dr. Nylara continued grimly. Humans don't just fail to fear appropriately, they actively enjoy confronting their fears. They deliberately seek out danger for recreation. They call it thrill-seeking or adventure. They intentionally expose themselves to simulated threats for entertainment. She displayed images of human roller coasters, horror movies, and extreme sports. So when we hunt them, High Counselor Drakthar began. We're not terrifying them, I finished. We're entertaining them. The council chamber erupted in distressed vocalizations. Quiet, bellowed Drakthar. There must be some limitation to this trait, some way to counter it. Dr. Nylara nodded. Their unpredictability has patterns. When faced with danger, humans rely on three primary response types: improvisation with available resources, social cooperation through humor, and what they call out-of-the-box thinking, deliberately violating conventional responses. Is there a scientific explanation for why this works so effectively against us? I asked. Predators evolved to anticipate standard prey responses, she explained. Our hunting instincts are triggered by specific behavior patterns: flight, freezing, submission. When humans respond with inappropriate laughter or absurd tactics, our instinctual hunting algorithms malfunction. We literally don't know how to respond. It's like trying to hunt prey that doesn't know it's prey, Mexer added thoughtfully. Worse, Dr. Nylara corrected. It's like hunting prey that thinks it's hunting you and finds the whole situation hilarious. A heavy silence fell over the council chamber. The most dangerous creature, I said quietly, isn't the one with the sharpest claws or deadliest venom. It's the one that smiles when you bare your fangs, because it's already thinking of 3 ridiculous ways to use your own strength against you. Nobody disagreed. The Confederation Council deliberated for days before reaching their decision. Humans would be reclassified as a Category X species too unpredictable to hunt. A galaxy-wide advisory was issued warning all predator species to avoid human territories. But I couldn't accept it. My hunting record, my reputation, my very identity as an apex predator had been challenged. I needed to understand this species firsthand. "This is unauthorized," Commander Lieutenant Mexer warned as we prepared my personal scout vessel for launch. The Council explicitly prohibited further contact. "This isn't a hunt," I assured him, checking my non-lethal observation equipment. "It's research." "Then why are you going alone?" he asked shrewdly. I had no good answer. Pride, perhaps, or something else I couldn't yet name. I selected a remote human outpost on a moon they called Titan. A single human researcher occupied the station, easier to observe, less chance of their bizarre group dynamics coming into play. The personnel file identified her as Dr. Ellie Morgan, xenobiologist. Ironically, she was studying potential alien life forms. If only she knew. The approach was simple. I disabled her communication systems and environmental controls, creating a crisis that would trigger her survival responses. I would observe from hiding, document her behavior, and perhaps finally understand the human anomaly. Everything went according to plan, at first. The station's lights flickered. Emergency systems activated. The temperature began to drop. I settled into my observation post, recording equipment ready. Dr. Morgan emerged from her sleep chamber, hair disheveled, wearing what appeared to be garments decorated with small cartoon creatures she later referred to as penguin pajamas. "Seriously?" she muttered, checking her systems. 3 billion miles from Earth and I still can't get a decent night's sleep. No panic, no fear, just annoyance. Fascinating. She quickly assessed the situation, identifying the environmental system failure and communications blackout. The station temperature had already dropped 15 degrees, and oxygen recyclers were compromised. "Well, this is suboptimal," she announced to the empty room. Then, to my astonishment, she added, "Computer, play Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice." Bizarre rhythmic sounds filled the station as she began methodically addressing the crisis, singing along to lyrics about ice and dancing while configuring emergency power routings. I was so engrossed in her inexplicable behavior that I failed to maintain proper stealth protocols. My observation drone drifted too close. She spotted it immediately. "Well, hello there," she said, addressing the drone directly. "I was wondering when you'd show yourself. The electromagnetic interference had your signature all over it." Impossible. She'd known I was watching? I activated the drone's communication system. "You recognize our technology?" I asked. Recognized something was fishy when my systems went haywire in ways that shouldn't be possible with random failure, she replied, remarkably calm. "As for knowing who you are, the Confederation of predator species isn't exactly subtle. Those hunting ships you park in orbit are visible from standard telescopes." She knew about the Confederation. How? "We've been watching you watching us for months," she explained, as if reading my thoughts. "Your cloaking technology doesn't account for quantum displacement. Pretty obvious oversight, really." She approached a storage locker and removed what appeared to be a primitive projectile weapon. My threat assessment systems went on high alert. "Relax," she said, noticing my drone's defensive positioning. "If I wanted to shoot you, I'd have done it when you cut my heat in the middle of my REM cycle." That was rude, by the way. "Then what is the weapon for?" I asked. She grinned, that disturbing display of teeth that humans use to signal amusement. "It's not a weapon. It's a portable heater I modified from a hairdryer and some spare parts. The grip just happens to be from an old pistol because it was ergonomic. She activated the device, which indeed began generating heat, not projectiles. Now, she continued, since you've gone to all this trouble, why don't you come inside properly? This hide and seek is getting old, and if we're going to have first contact, I'd prefer to do it with feeling in my extremities. I had come to observe human behavior under stress. Instead, I found myself invited to tea by a human who had outmaneuvered me at every turn and who called the beverage hot leaf juice while giggling at her own joke. I never stood a chance. One full revolution around their sun later, and the Galactic Confederation's policies have undergone radical revision. The predator-prey classification system, unchanged for 12,000 cycles, now includes a new category, approach with extreme caution, may respond with inappropriate humor and deadly creativity. Diplomatic relations with humanity have been established, though most Confederation species still find direct interaction deeply unsettling. Humans have been granted unprecedented status, neither predator nor prey, but something altogether more disturbing. As for me, I resigned my commission as Hunt Commander. How could I continue after being outmaneuvered by Dr. Morgan and her hot leaf juice? She and I maintain regular correspondence, and I've even visited Earth, a chaotic, bewildering planet where humans deliberately expose themselves to danger for what they call the fun of it. I now serve as Special Advisor to the Confederation Council on Human Affairs. My official recommendation, entered into the permanent Galactic record, reads simply, leave them alone. Seriously, just don't. The most feared creatures in the known galaxy aren't the ones with venomous stingers or razor-sharp claws. They're not the fastest or strongest or deadliest. They're the ones who look at certain death, shrug their shoulders, make an inappropriate joke, and then improvise a solution so ridiculous that no evolved predator could possibly anticipate it. They're the ones who call near-extinction events close calls and celebrate surviving them by inventing absurd recreational activities that nearly kill them all over again. They're humans, and may the cosmic forces help any predator species foolish enough to think they're easy prey, because the Confederation certainly won't. We know better now.